My new book, A Borrowed Path, will be out on the 24th of September, so I thought I might give you a bit of a taster and read you the first chapter. Chapter 1. Mummy? Replied Lyra absently, without looking up from the book she was reading. Sky, her 5-year-old daughter, wriggled herself out from their little nest of cushions and throws and stood in front of her, tapping her knee to get her attention. Mummy, she said, a little more urgently. There's water coming through the ceiling. Lyra looked up and her eyes followed Sky's pointing finger to where a stream was cascading down the anaglypta-covered wall. Oh dear, so there is, she said, but she didn't move. Mummy! Sky's eyes opened wide. You must have left the bath running. Maybe you should stop it? The ceiling was two-tone now, an ominous dark patch blooming in the place below the first floor bathroom. It shouldn't be much longer before it gave up the ghost entirely. Mummy! Squeaked Sky. Lyra brought herself to. Yes, she said briskly. Good idea. I'll go and turn the taps off. It's going to be a very deep bath, said Sky with a knowing nod. Lyra wanted to explain that the bath couldn't actually get any deeper no matter how much water flowed through their scruffy little flat. But this probably wasn't the moment for a physics lesson. Moving without the urgency that the situation might merit, Lyra made her way up the threadbare stairs to the landing with Sky trailing behind her. Did you forget about the bath? Asked Sky in her little voice. I think I must have, agreed Lyra. We made that hot chocolate and it just went out of my head. Silly Mummy. Sky's tone was affectionate and fond, as if the stupidity of adults were rather charming. The bathroom door was closed, as Lyra had intended, and she stopped for a moment on the landing. She could hear the water hitting the floor and splashing back, like the sound of a particularly wet day. She put her hand on the handle and opened it wide. The bath was indeed full, and water poured over the edges and onto the nasty patterned lino flooring that Lyra had always hated. It was maybe a few centimetres deep and seemed to be pooling in one corner. How typical of this horrible flat that the floor was on a slant. That must be where it was coming through to the ceiling below. She hadn't thought to move their dirty laundry, and now it was strewn through the water like so much jetsam and flotsam. That was annoying, Lyra thought. How would she dry it all out? Sky at her side was stripping off her socks and rolling up her leggings. You had to admire the child's resourcefulness, and Lyra's heart expanded a little as she watched her splash her way through the deluge to the bath. She reached over and turned off first one tap and then the other before looking to Lyra for approval. Lyra beamed at her. Well done, she said. Crisis averted. She bit her lip to stop herself laughing. That really wouldn't be appropriate parental behaviour. None of this was really, but there was no need to let Sky see how much she was enjoying herself. Sky put her fingers in the bathwater, tentatively at first, and then with disappointment on her face. It's a very cold bath, Mummy. Do I still have to get in? Lyra grinned at her, pleased to have an excuse to stop covering up her inconvenient emotional response. No, she said, we'll skip your bath tonight. But what about school? I don't think anyone will notice, said Lyra. But listen, Sky. Sky looked up at her, the picture of attention. It's probably going to be best if we don't tell anybody about this. Sky's face fell. Obviously, the day Mummy flooded the bathroom would be a great story to recount to her little classmates and her teacher. I'm sorry, sweetie, Lyra continued, but we don't want anyone to know how silly Mummy is, do we? Mummy might get into trouble. Lyra's guts twisted. The disaster that was her life was bad enough without getting her 5-year-old to lie for her. But needs must. Sky nodded solemnly. Okay, she said. I won't tell anyone. Cross my heart and hope to die. Thank you. Lyra kissed her daughter on the crown of her head, pulling her close for a quick hug. Right then, she said decisively. I think we're going to have to go and stay with Granny for a bit. Sky's face lit up. At Fox House? Yes, at Fox House. Let's get all your things together. We might not be coming back for a bit, or at all, she thought. So we better pack everything. Here are some bin bags for your clothes. Lyra pulled a handful from the roll and tore down the perforations to separate them. And we can put your toys in that box on your bed. Sky I didn't question why her mother seemed to have the wherewithal for moving out ready and in such close proximity. She turned, splashing back through the puddles on the bathroom floor, and headed for her room. It was a good job they didn't have much stuff, Lara thought. She still lived very much as a student, acquiring nothing of any value and not accumulating the stuff that other people seemed to require for happiness. One day the pair of them would have a home that merited some proper love and attention, but that was a while off yet. She would strip the flat of anything she wanted to keep, and then, when she was far from Manchester, she would text the landlord and tell him there'd been a flood. No need to explain how it had happened, although that would be obvious as soon as he set foot in here. The main thing was to make the place uninhabitable, so she had to flee to Fox House, which would put Rafe off their scent for a bit. Of course, he'd track them down eventually, but by then Lara would have worked out what she should be doing for the best. She stepped into the dripping bathroom, pulled the plug on the bath and started to pick their sopping wet clothes off the floor, wringing them out over the lino and then dropping them into an open bin bag. The floor made an ominous creaking sound, and then there was a crash and the sound of the water gushing. That'll be the ceiling collapsing downstairs, she thought. Good. So that's the opening chapter. And as you see, Skye and Lyra flee to Granny's house at Fox House. So I hope you enjoy it. As I say, it's out on the 24th of September. You can pre-order or you can just wait, but it would be lovely if you read it.